Welcome back, and thank you very much for joining me last week when we read Chapter 1 of You Are All Charlotte. We're on Chapter 2 this week, and as a reminder, my short story, Hannah's Ring, is available right now on Kindle Unlimited, or if you don't have Kindle Unlimited, it's also 99 cents on the Kindle store. But today we are reading You Are All Charlotte, my debut time travel ghost story that is coming out June 1st. It'll be available in paperback and it'll be free on Kindle Unlimited, so let's get to it.
Chapter 2, 2024, The First Night. Fuck Sara and her stupid friends. Magda steadied herself against a tree to catch her breath. She gazed back down the mountain to the town below. At least an hour had passed since she stormed out of the party, shoving past dozens of people holding up phones to record. The fog had become thicker, and the houses below were nearly invisible. A bright spot far below might have been Bridget's house, or a gas station open late. Who cared? She wasn't going back. She took a deep breath and scanned the trees surrounding her. When she left the main road at the bottom of the mountain, the trail through the forest had been obvious. A spacious track of red, clay-like earth under a thin layer of papery leaves. But as she climbed higher, the trail began to taper, twisting around trees and under huge roots, and the dead leaves had grown thicker, eventually obscuring the narrow path completely. Now she was fully in thick woods, with all traces gone of the trail, and no clue how much further she had to go to reach home. Fucking shit! Her voice was louder than she meant it to be, and for a moment she held her breath, waiting to hear something rustling in the distance. A dark shape drifting through the fog. Something dead. Something that hadn't known until she spoke that she was here with it. She let out her breath and shook her head. There was nothing out there. Nothing. Crazy Magda seeing things. Not tonight. She pulled her phone from her back pocket and opened the map. A blue dot blinked her location in a sea of gray. Well, what did she expect? There never was any cell coverage on the mountain. If she wasn't close enough to pick up the home Wi-Fi, she was out of luck. Jamming the phone back in her pocket, she shoved away from the tree and continued uphill. Magda hadn't been up the trail since she was a kid, but it was never too difficult to navigate. Mostly a straight path. After a while, it split into side paths here and there that she had never taken the time to explore. Didn't matter. The main trail crossed over the road 3 times as it wound back and forth up the mountain. Eventually, it led directly into her backyard. Simple. But how many times had she crossed the road already tonight? Magda closed her eyes and tried to remember. Once? Maybe twice, but definitely not 3. Shit, she said again. Barely a whisper. She shrugged off her backpack, pulled out the glass bottle, and shook it. The last bit of rum swirled around the bottom, so she shrugged off the top and swigged the rest. It would have lasted longer if Sara had just taken her home after work like she wanted. They could have split the bottle, watched a movie with Jimmy, made popcorn. Magda jammed the empty bottle back in her bag. Well, she wasn't going to find home standing around the woods, and there was no way in hell she would go back to the party. So, continuing uphill was the only option. Sooner or later, she'd have to hit the mountain road. No more parties, no more people, and no more Sara. Crazy Magda would keep to herself in her house up on the mountain like they all wanted. Get a few cats, practice voodoo or something. Fuck 'em all. 1 hour earlier. What? Bridget's mouth fell open. What did she do? It's none of your business, Magda glared. How do these assholes know anything about her? About Jimmy? You're here in my house, aren't you? Bridget scoffed. So whatever you did is my business. Bridget, Sara stepped between them. It's not important, okay? Yeah, didn't her brother get stuck in a cave or something? Caitlin took another drag on the joint, and then offered it to Bridget. The blonde waved it away, too focused on this new information. I remember my parents talking about it years ago. My dad was part of the search team. It was like those boys in Malaysia, right? The soccer team? Wasn't that Thailand? Bridget said. Yeah. Jaden's eyes bore into Magda's from beneath his blue hood. But no one stranded those kids down there on purpose. Their whole thing was an accident. So was Jimmy's. Magda gripped the bottle tighter. Her head pounded and she wished again that Sara had just taken her home after work. But it was her dad. Caitlin frowned. He was the one who lost him down there in the cave, remember? It was a big deal. Magda was home the whole time. Right? She turned to Magda. Nope. Jaden's eyes narrowed. Tell her, Mag. Fuck you. The deck swayed under Magda, and she stumbled to keep her footing. Sara caught her arm to steady her. Enough. Let's go home, Sara leaned in to whisper. He doesn't know what he's talking about, okay? Forget it. I don't know what I'm talking about? Jaden frowned. Sara, you're the one who told me. You... Magda turned to Sara, her mouth open. Her heart sank. Her head throbbed. She glanced up at Sara's face for confirmation, but Sara just stared at the floor, unable to meet her eyes. Fucking Jaden, why'd you have to... Shit. Sara put a hand over her face. I'm sorry, Mag. I didn't mean to. It just kinda... You told him I did that to Jimmy? Oh shit, Sara. This is about to get real, I know it. Jaden, smirking, held up his phone to record the girls. The light shined in Magda's face. Might as well tell us. The truth's about to come out anyway. What'd you do, huh? You push him? Magda blinked and held up a hand to block the light. Her breathing became heavy. Bile rose again in her throat. She turned back to the sliding glass door, her only escape, to find a group of people clustered against the glass, holding up phones of their own. Jaden, put that away. Don't be a dick. Sara pushed the phone down and then turned to Magda. Look, I only told him what you told me. Why the fuck would you tell him anything? Magda shoved Sara's shoulder hard enough to make her stumble back. The deck spun under Magda's feet. Tears burned in her eyes, but she willed herself not to lose control. Not with that phone in her face and these people sneering at her. She took a deep, shuddering breath. The scent hit her again, the one on Sara's clothes. But no, it was coming from Jaden. His cologne. When had Sara told him about the cave and about Jimmy's accident? While Magda had been sitting alone on the back porch like an idiot, waiting for Sara to get done fucking some dipshit and laughing at her? Laughing at crazy Magda. Seeing things that aren't there. Making things up, always full of shit. Lying about what happened to Jimmy's leg. Lying about her father. She gripped the bottle so tight it could shatter in her hand. A tear, hot in the light of Jaden's phone, slipped down her cheek. Oh shit, Sara, Jaden said. You made her cry. Shut up, Jaden. You're an asshole when you're drunk. Sara tried to pull Magda away from the group, but Magda shoved her away again. Both of you shut up. I want to hear it from Magda. Bridget held up a hand. Just tell us. What happened to Jimmy? The group's eyes all turned to her. Her face was so hot it was almost burning. Bridget raised her eyebrows as if to say, Get on with it. He fell. We know that already. Caitlin peered over Jaden's shoulder. Were you there? Did you push him? No. Another tear fell down her cheek and she resisted the urge to wipe it away. You did. You pushed him, and then you left him down there in the cave to die, Jaden said. Your dad just took the blame. Did you? Bridget stared, her mouth agape. Is that really what happened? Her heart raced, every beat pounding in her ears. The group stared at her with their mouths open in anticipation. What point was there in lying now? Sara had completely fucked her over. You don't... Is it true or not? Bridget crossed her arms. Mag, come on. Sara tugged Magda's sleeve. Is it? Magda's voice quavered. Yes. Told you! Jaden pushed the phone into her face. This fucking psycho! The dam burst. Hot tears flowed down Magda's cheeks. She let out a guttural cry, raised the half-empty bottle of rum, and brought it down on Jaden's arm. His phone clattered to the deck. The bottle didn't break, but he cried out in pain and shoved Magda away. God damn, don't hit me! I'm not your fucking brother, bitch! Magda shuddered with sobs. She cried out again and raised the bottle over her head, but Sara grabbed her arm and pulled her back. Mag, stop. Sara put her other arm on Magda's shoulder. Let me take you home. Magda cried out and shoved Sara with all of her strength. Sara stumbled backward, lost her balance, and fell against the glass patio table. She and the table both went to the floor, and the table shattered. Tempered glass spread across the wooden deck. Sara sat in the middle of it, staring up at Magda with her mouth open in surprise. You... Die, Sara! Magda crossed the deck, scooped up her backpack, and jammed the rum bottle into it. She threw it over one shoulder and slid open the glass door. People shuffled out of her way, holding up phones to record her as she stomped through the house, her eyes blurry with tears. Throwing open the front door, she stepped out in the night and began the walk home. 1 hour later. Where the goddamn fuck was the road? After continuing another 10 or 15 minutes uphill, Magda had yet to spot the mountain road, or a house, or even a hint of a trail. She was hiking through dense woods now, tripping over hidden roots, shoving thorny branches out of her face. Once she walked right through a spiderweb, invisible in the dark. Finally, she stumbled into a clearing, where a huge oak tree stood at the center of a fiery mass of red leaves. She pulled her phone from her back pocket and checked the map again. Still just a blue dot blinking in a void. Wait, a single bar appeared at the top of her screen. She opened her contacts and very nearly tapped Sara's icon. No more Sara. Instead, she tapped Jimmy's name and brought the phone to her ear. Silence. Finally, it beeped, and the screen read could not connect. The single bar of service flickered a couple times and then disappeared, now reading no signal. She waved the phone back and forth in the fog above her head, waiting for that bar to appear again. No luck. Walking backwards, she moved in a circle around the clearing, still holding the phone up in the air, her eyes on the screen. Magda gasped as she fell backward into empty air. Her heart leaped into her throat. Her ass hit dirt, cutting her scream short, and her teeth clacked together painfully. The phone flew from her hand and buried itself in a deep pile of leaves, projecting a dim, blood-red glow on dirt walls surrounding her. Clasping a hand over her racing heart, she took a deep breath. She groaned, sat up, and looked around. Magda lay at the bottom of a pit, maybe 6 feet deep, the bottom covered with dead leaves from the huge oak overhead. Lucky it was November. Those leaves probably saved her from a broken leg. Or worse. A memory flashed in her mind. Jimmy, alone in the dark, his leg smashed to a pulp, no phone, no help, and Magda running away. She shook her head to clear it. No, she wasn't going to think about that anymore tonight. Magda brushed bits of leaf from her hair and reached deep into the pile for her phone. Easy enough to find, shining through the red leaves. No cracks on the screen, more luck. She couldn't afford to fix a broken phone, any more than she could a broken leg. Nausea rushed over her like a wave. The last few shots of rum spewed out of her almost before she could move her phone out of the way. Groaning, she leaned back, and the dirt wall was cold against the back of her head. Her throat burned, and her jeans were damp with vomit and chunks of pepperoni. Had she eaten at the party? She remembered a stack of greasy pizzas on the kitchen counter, being picked through by drunk college students all night. She didn't remember eating any, but she must have. The party was a blur. The only clear memory was the fight with Sara. Didn't matter. She aimed the phone light up over her head and swept it from side to side. The huge oak tree loomed over her, the last few rusty leaves clinging to the top branches. Below it, roots curled along the rocky wall. She sighed with relief. Even if the top of the pit was over her head, she could climb. Wait. She squinted at the dirt under the roots. Something else there. A hole. Maybe 3 feet wide and a couple feet tall. Not huge, but large enough for a person to easily crawl into. Or 2 children, exploring the woods behind their home. Oh, fuck, she whispered. In the dark silence of the woods, it was almost a shout. Magda's heart pounded and her stomach churned. She clasped her hand over her mouth and stood shin deep in the pile of dead leaves, staring down into the dark hole of the cave. She was not lost. Not anymore. Somehow she had walked almost clear to the other side of the mountain. With Jimmy's accident on her mind, the dark of the cave and the awful thing Magda had seen that night, deep down under the mountain, it had called her to it, reeled her in like a fish. Hand over her mouth, Magda stared into the familiar opening. She knew there was a drop just inside, a few feet down into a large entrance chamber. From there, several tunnels broke off and snaked around under the mountain. She and Jimmy had made their way down a couple of them, before he fell. Before Magda saw the dead girl. The fog above her glowed in the dim moonlight, and anyone, or anything, standing in the dark entrance chamber would see her clear as day, could watch her, invisible in the dark, wait for her to climb the roots, and just as her foot passed the hole, reach its dead hand up out of the cave and... Magda! A girl's voice. Her skin went cold. Had she really heard it, or was it her imagination? The same voice she had heard 5 years earlier. Her arms trembled. Nausea rose inside her chest again. No. God damn it, she was not going to throw up in that pit a second time. With a grunt, she broke out of her paralysis and lunged toward the edge of the pit. The dead leaves rustled loudly as she waded through them. Grasping a root tightly, she threw the phone up out of the pit and then jumped and grabbed another root. Her foot found something to push against, to hoist herself up. But something stopped her, held her back. "Help me, Magda." No, not something, someone. She shut her eyes tight. Not now. Her heart thumped in her chest. Not again, after all this time. She tried to scream, but it came out a whimper. Bracing herself, she opened her eyes slowly and looked down, fully expecting to see the dead girl holding her by the shirt, drenched hair dripping water onto the leaves below as her dull eyes bore into Magda's soul, just like the day that Jimmy fell. But there was no one. A loose root had caught her backpack strap, not a hand. She pulled at the root, but it was long and crooked, fully hooked around the strap. Magda couldn't pull it loose without climbing back down the wall. No way in hell. Forget the backpack. It only had the empty bottle of Cruzon anyway. And her work clothes. She could come back for the bag in the morning, or, shit, just buy a new set. She wriggled her shoulders until the backpack was loose, then heaved herself up and out of the pit. The bag fell with a whoomp in the leaves below. She lay on her side in the dirt, her heart pounding in her ears. Out of the pit, but she could not relax, not until she was far away from that cave, and the dead girl inside it. She scooped her phone up off the ground and ran. Magda knew the way home by heart. She had poked around in the woods enough as a child, too scared to venture further into the cave than a few turns into the shorter tunnels, but imagining herself an explorer all the same. Maybe she would find lost pirate treasure down there, a stash of golden coins that would make her family so rich they could move off the mountain forever. She ducked through the bramble, out of the clearing and back onto the trail. Just a few more yards, past the rocky outcropping she and Sara used to sit on to chat after school, their legs dangling above the drop as they stared out over the trees. She climbed up the last stretch of trail, over the wooden planks buried in the dirt that made a makeshift staircase, and flew out of the woods into her own backyard. Magda took a moment to catch her breath, and then whipped around and stared back into the darkness of the woods. Nothing. What did she expect to be there? Someone behind her, following through the trees, shining dimly in the moonlight? Not running, maybe not even walking, floating up the path towards her. Goosebumps rose on her arms. She held her breath. But there was no one. She let out the breath slowly. Fuck. Crazy Magda again, scared of nothing. Her heart pounded in her ears. Thirst overcame her, and she wished she still had the rum. She breathed in again, slowly, forcing herself to calm down. She was home. Safe. Instinctively, she reached for the keys in her hoodie pocket as she crossed the yard to her back porch. But there was no pocket. She had changed into a charcoal sweater, borrowed from Sara, in the back room of Walgreens after closing. What had she done with her keys then? Fuck. Think, Magda. She patted her body. Her phone was in the back pocket of her jeans, but her keys... It hit her. She had tossed her work shirt and the bottle of Cruzon, along with her keys, into the bottom of her backpack, which was currently buried in a pile of leaves at the bottom of that pit. God damn it. Magda frowned at the path leading down the mountain. Going back to the cave? Fuck that. Even if she felt like braving the woods again, she was likely to trip and break her neck trying to hike back down the mountain drunk. She pulled out her phone again and realized it had connected to the house Wi-Fi as 6 missed calls from Sara popped up. 4 voicemails. No. Fuck Sara. She swiped them away and unlocked the phone to send Jimmy a text. Come let me in. I'm in the backyard. Lost my keys. Her breath glowed in the light from her phone screen. She shivered, waiting, hoping her brother was still awake. After a moment, 3 little dots appeared under her message. Magda looked up at the window of his room and frowned. Why not just come to the door? Did he really have to send a text from 20 feet away? Not home. Mom took me to the 21 Pilots concert, remember? We won't be home for like 40 minutes. Of course. The concert she hadn't been able to go to because her manager couldn't find anyone to cover her shift. Just like the party, she'd completely forgotten it was tonight. 3 more dots appeared. I thought you were at Sara's tonight. Magda stared out into the trees. 40 minutes. Could she wait that long? Standing and shivering in the dark outside her home, looking over her shoulder the entire time and waiting for the dead girl in the cave to finally come and find her. Magda quickly typed a reply and hit send. Plans changed. Forget it. I'll find another way in.
thank you very much for listening this week, and join me next week for Chapter 3 of You Are All Charlotte. As a reminder, it is available in paperback and on Kindle Unlimited on June 1st, and my my short story, Hannah's Ring, is available right now on Kindle Unlimited for free, or 99 cents on the Kindle store. See you next week.